Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm excited to bring this training to you tonight. Again, this is a training from Bob Heilig, and it is all about content creation on social media. So these are going to be some tips to help you develop your content on social media so it's adding value to others so that you stay inspired on what to create, what to put out there, what's your message, who are you marketing to, what does content marketing really mean, and what does that mean for you? How to zero in on what that means for your social media presence, and then some tips to help you actually do those things. So first of all, we got to talk about what is content marketing. And this is kind of what that whole term attraction marketing comes from. So it's going to help you stand out from the crowd. It's going to attract people to you instead of your brand. It's going to make them be interested in you and what you can offer them, and offer them some curiosity as to what you can provide for them and add value to them, what they can get from your content, and not necessarily your product or service. So that's all content marketing. And what we're going to talk about tonight is something that's going to help you create or allow your audience to build trust with you and allow them to get to know you better and start to love you as a person, so that later on they're more comfortable buying from you or joining your team and things like that. So there are a few characteristics of successful content marketing, and successful content marketing really can educate people. It empowers people to make a positive change in their life or do something positive, and it also will entertain them. It will make them laugh, bring a a warm fuzzy feeling inside. It will make them feel good about their life, their kids, their family, their job, their hobby, whatever. So you're looking to entertain, educate, and empower. So those are the things you're looking to do with your content on social media. And further than that, you want to always be consistent. And this is where most people seem to go wrong. They might do too little and not long enough. So they maybe post just a little bit and maybe don't dive all in, and they don't do it long enough to really see any results. So that can be a huge issue. So you want to pay attention to what your content is telling people, and are you doing it long enough? Are you really going all in for the long haul? And you want to remember to always be vulnerable and authentic in your material. That's not to say you can't go borrow some content or find content that you find interesting somewhere else. We'll talk about that. But always give credit where credit is due. If you find something in a book, in a magazine, on a YouTube video, on somebody else's blog, all of that, you want to give credit where it's due, but present it in your own spin. You're not just blowing up someone else's quote all the time, and you're not just linking to someone else's blog all the time, and you're not just basically stealing someone else's content and throwing it up on your page. You want to put your own spin on it. You want to talk about what you got out of this material, maybe what was a struggle related to that material that you walked through, and what you've come out on the other side with. Things like that. People want to listen to you and your stories, and you want to make sure that in your story you have a point of view. Now, try to avoid the hot button topics in religion and politics, the things that people don't want to speak about in public. But remember that your point of view is important. You need to have a point of view that sets you apart from everybody else. You need to have an outlook on something that's specific and passionate, something you're passionate about, and something that you are starting to learn more about, starting to know more about. And you want to not be afraid to have an opinion on a subject. And you're not an infomercial for your product or business. You don't be overly salesy and promotional, but remember that there are going to be times that you're going to want to talk about how your product might make someone feel, how the story of their life looks, including your product in it. Not just, this is my product and this is how much it costs and these are the features. This is how I feel when I use it. This is how you are going to feel when you use it. This is how your children are going to feel when you are a better mom. This is how your husband is going to feel, when you are a happier wife that's not as irritable, or whatever the story is. You're trying to paint those pictures for people, and they're going to start to know, love, and trust you the more you show them who you are and the more you show them your point of view. And not everyone has to agree with your point of view. Not everyone has to have the same point of view as you. And so that's one of the things that can paralyze us, is we're like, oh no, people might not agree with me. Some people might not like this content. That's okay. You're not trying to find everyone to come along with you. You're trying to find that niche group of people that understands you, is like you, shares qualities with you, and market to those people. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is how to find the group of people that you should be marketing to, and what types of content you can give to add value to them and make your content meaningful in their life so that they'll want to join your team or buy from you. But I've been using the term content marketing a lot, and we want to talk about the difference between marketing and prospecting. I think a lot of people spend way too much time marketing. Social media is marketing. It is not prospecting. Social media is not working your business, okay? Prospecting is working your business. Marketing, you're putting out content on social media, is creating opportunities for you to later on work your business. It's also sprinkling those drips of information, those drips of attraction marketing. It's pulling people towards you. It's doing that to the people that you're prospecting behind the scenes. So some people can get caught up spending so much time in the marketing piece that they really aren't creating any prospects to be marketing to. So you want to make sure that if you're a brand new person, or you have a really young team, really small team, you should be spending like 70 to 80% of your time prospecting. You should be sending out those messages and asking people if they've heard of your company, or if they want to come to an event, or they want to try a sample. You should be following up with those people. You should be, inviting them to things, all of that. That's prospecting. And then in the meantime, you're sprinkling that marketing on them. So prospecting is planting the seed, and marketing is watering the seeds. So if we are only watering, but we really haven't reached out to people to lay that foundation of, hey, I am your Plexus person. I want to know if you are paying attention to my message. I want to know if my products are something that might fit into your life. You need to put yourself on their radar so that they're tuning into the marketing that you're throwing at them. And that is going to be content related and unrelated to your products and business. You're marketing yourself just as much, if not more, than you're marketing your products and your company. So remember that your marketing is kind of pulling people towards you, attracting people, but your prospecting is pushing those people to take action and make a decision. And you need both of those things. However, the prospecting piece, that's where your IPAs live, your income producing activities. Those are the pieces that are going to really propel your business forward. However, if you're only prospecting and in the meantime, they aren't getting any marketing after the fact, if you cold message them one day and then come back 2 months later and they haven't heard anything from you, seen anything on social media, no marketing, they really aren't going to take you seriously. You're not going to have a lot of credibility because they haven't seen any more information from you. So you need both pieces, but I want to make sure nobody gets carried away in the marketing piece, that we don't spend too much time on social media creating content that we're not doing the prospecting piece, because they're both really important. And when you have a young team, it's so important to spend more of your time prospecting than it does when you do marketing. Now, if you have a huge team and you have a lot of people working and a lot of people prospecting and a lot of people marketing, you've kind of earned the right to use a little bit more of your time paying attention to the marketing piece, because you might have a lot more people following you. You need to pay attention to your presence a lot more. You maybe are making a lot more new contacts that are going to pay a lot of attention to the type of marketing and branding you have. So just think about that. If you have a young team, don't spend too much time on the marketing piece, but be aware of, like I said, the content pieces that we'll go through earlier or after this. But you want to remember to always be planting those prospecting seeds, because if you are just marketing, but you haven't planted any seeds and sent out any messages, you're not doing any good. So remember that. And I alluded to this earlier, but there's some reasons why we maybe get paralyzed when we're trying to think of content. And we don't know how we can add value to people. We don't know what kind of messages to put out there. And the first of these is we're thinking we have to be an expert in something. We have to know a lot about something. We have to be in a certain field, have a certain degree, all of that. We absolutely do not. We'll talk a little bit later about learning out loud. You really just have to be willing to create and willing to explore and willing to share. You don't need any sort of special qualification to share something. If it's novel information to you, or even something you've known about for a long time, share it with the world. You might be surprised at who doesn't know what you already know. And that's one of the biggest reasons I see of people not taking action, is that we take for granted what we already have learned. And we think that people either already know it or they don't care. And the thing is, yes, they do care, and no, they don't already know that. So you have to kind of take a step back and go through your life day to day and really call to mind the processes you're doing, the systems you put in place, the different activities you're a part of, the thoughts you have, maybe the items you own, or whatever that is, whatever your life looks like. Think it of through the scope of one of your prospects, and we'll walk through how to come up with who your perfect prospect might be here in a minute. But you need to think about what those stories are that you're trying to tell, and do each of these categories or each of these things in your life kind of fit in with that. I'm a young mom. I'm a young toddler mom with an infant. So anything related to that kind of storyline, that person's going to be somebody I'm going to be trying to reach out with my story, because they relate to me. They don't need to be things that are big and revolutionary. Just the other day, I had like 3 people ask me, some of my friends were having babies, and they said, what books do you recommend for new moms? Because I know you have 2 babies. And so I'm like, you know what, that would be a perfect thing to share online. Or what books do I recommend for new moms having babies? And so that's what I did. I made some content out of it, and I went and picked my favorite books for new mamas to read. So think about things like that. We forget what we already know, and we take it for granted, and we think people don't care and people already know it. But people don't already know it, and they do care. They do want to hear about it. And people aren't going to think you're trying to be something that you're not. They're not going to think that you're trying to be some imposter, some expert on something. They're going to be just as excited as you are to share, that recipe, that hobby, that new pattern you made when you were quilting, whatever you're into, whatever that hobby is. They're going to be just as interested in it as you are, because no one can deny genuine passion and authenticity when you're talking about something that you're really interested in. So call to mind those things, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to determine your storylines in social media. So I want you to think about 3 themes in your life that you love to share about, that you love to talk about when people ask you about you, and base your content around those things. And no, they don't have to be your business. One of them does not have to be Plexus. It really doesn't even have to be health and wellness, even though that is your business. That does not have to be a major facet of your life to tailor your content to somebody who might relate to you. So think about these questions. What things are most important to you in life? So if you had to answer that question, what would that be? What are the things that you find interesting and fascinating? What do you love to learn about? What things are you most passionate about when you're talking to others? Is it a certain hobby you have? Is it something you've done all your life since childhood? Is it the place you've lived? Is it something relating to your family and something your family likes to do? Is it a place that you travel often? Things like that. And are there any areas that you could help or add value to others? Is there a skill you have that not a lot of people have? Or is there a skill that makes you unique? Is there something you feel like you're really good at and really confident in that? Is that something that you can show other people, or that might even just entertain other people? It doesn't have to educate them. Maybe it's just entertaining. Maybe it's something you just feel like it's something you're really good at, and you like that talent of yours. And these 3 storylines that you have do not have to be connected or related in any way. They're just 3 facets of your personality. They're 3 facets of the characteristics of your life. And they don't have to directly market your business products either. Your storylines are really just creating points of commonality between you and your prospects, between you and your audience, because the more that they see from you and hear from you about your storylines, the more they are going to know, love, and trust you. And this is going to lead to them wanting to join your team, wanting to buy your product, so that later on, when you do suggest something, they're like, oh, I know this girl, or I know this lady, she shares these things in common with me. These are things I love about her. I like this and this and this, and I find these interesting. So when she recommends something that's helping her, get rid of her migraines or get past her anxiety, I'm more willing to try it, because I've learned so much about her. I feel a closeness with her now. So that's what you're going for, and that's where that attraction marketing really comes from. So after answering all those questions, now you're going to start thinking about a customer avatar. So stick with me here. So if you could think of a person, right? So your perfect person that you're marketing to, who would they be? What would they look like? How old are they? What's their hair like? Are they fit? Are they overweight? What's their job? What's their age? Do they have kids? Where do they live? Maybe they stay at home? right? What problems do they have? And what maybe keeps them up at night? Now, how are these problems or issues making them feel? Think about that. So, construct the type of lifestyle they have, and then maybe what kinds of issues they might be struggling with. And then, how do these problems make them feel in their life? And then, what content would they need to help alleviate some of those problems? Now, I didn't say how would your products fix their problems, right? We're not thinking how would your products fix it, but what content might be interesting to them that they would find valuable to help work through some of their issues. So, like I said, for me, if I'm looking at young moms who are having babies or just had babies, I'm not trying to relate my Plexus products to every single piece of content of mine. I got some people asking me about what books do I recommend to get newborns on a sleep schedule, right? So my recommendation was things about resources I thought new moms should read when they're preparing to have a baby, because these are the things that helped me with my 2 kids. Completely unrelated to Plexus, but interesting content for people my age in my situation. So that's the types of things that you want to ask yourself when you're trying to come up with content that's going to add value to others. And you can do this exercise with every single one of your 3 storylines I mentioned earlier. So if mine is, I mean, I've done this a couple of times. I have a few different kind of spheres, but if I have parenting being one of them, parenting with young kids, and maybe travel, I have a passion for travel is maybe another one. And then if it's cooking or family or faith or whatever, whatever speaks to you, maybe it's I don't know, maybe you vacation in a certain place, maybe you go camping a lot and that's a thing, maybe you read, maybe you're very literary, maybe you're into sports and you love sports related things, like whatever that is for you, or working out, maybe it's fitness. So think of all those spheres and who might fit into those spheres, and what type of person might be into each one of those things, and then what struggles they might have in each one of those areas. And according to the struggles that they might have, what sort of content might help them through those areas and might help them see you as adding value to their life because you're answering a question for them or you're solving a problem for them that is completely unrelated to your product or service or your business, right? So after you have your 3 storylines and your people that fit in there, and you're thinking, okay, what content can I come up with that might solve some problems for people? Well, some ways to help you think of the issue where you can provide a solution, or at least some content that might help nudge them in a direction of positivity. So draw out your 3 storylines on a piece of paper or whatever, and draw some lines off of that. So if it's fitness, right, maybe some other related content might be healthy recipes, maybe it's stretching techniques or warm-up techniques, or maybe it's fitness apparel, maybe it's different types of workouts, maybe it's supplementation. It could be supplementation. It doesn't have to not be about your business, but it absolutely can be related. Maybe it's self-care, maybe that works into your fitness. Maybe it's mindset. All these things are related to each one of your storylines, right? So those can help you branch out and think of each one of your avatars for each one of your 3 storylines. Each one of those branches off of your storylines can help you think of what those avatars might have as an issue in their life. So if you are thinking of this, fit mom who cares about her appearance, but maybe she's not in the best shape that she wants to be in, but maybe she doesn't have the best mindset either. Maybe she needs some good healthy recipes, and she would love some new workout gear, and she also could use some personal development on mindset. So maybe some great books to read and a great podcast to listen to, or a banging playlist for her next workout to keep her motivation high, right? So you can start thinking of these things to help you develop the content that you need to fill up your week full of content every single week. And you can focus on these different storylines, these different people, and the different types of struggles they might have in their life, so that you can start intentionally adding value to people. And now, something that you probably have noticed I've just started doing because I'm trying to test out my storylines. Live video is really where it's at, guys. Like, I was so afraid of live video, but the more you do it, the more comfortable it gets. And try to do one once a week, once every couple weeks, because They are really what's going to get people at least just clicking on you and slowing down their scroll for just a minute to listen to what you're saying. And honestly, you have to get over yourself and start embracing live video. Okay? Nobody's going to think poorly of you. Nobody is going to be saying things behind your back. Nobody's going to be as worried about how you are feeling as yourself. So you are way more self-conscious than anybody is realizing. They're not thinking about you as hard as you're thinking about how you're appearing. So if you think other people are wondering how you're doing, like, oh my goodness, she looks like, they're not. Like, they're not. Nobody's thinking about you that much. So it's really going to make them slow their scroll and pay attention to you a lot more, because there's no quicker way to make a connection with somebody than live video, you guys. And I'm going to give some tips for live videos, but posting in general. When you post, or when you go live, or when you create a video or create content, you really want to talk more about your struggles or your breakthroughs or what you've learned or things you've found out, or the journey you've had, more than just the success of it. So highlight the successes, that's great, but you want to talk about more of the journey than anything. You want to talk about what you've walked through to get to that point, because that's where the relatability lies. That's where the meat of the content really is, and that's where people are going to come to know you. Focusing on the lessons you learned along the way and the person you became in the process. And remember, your content isn't for you. It's for the person who's watching. It's for that avatar that we were talking about earlier. So think of it through the lens of them gathering added value from that content. So what is someone going to take away from this message? And remember, it's quality over quantity. You don't have to post 3 times a day if it's going to be total crap and you haven't thought about it, right? You don't have to throw a quote up there that you just happen to find on a Pinterest search because it's noon. So really think about it, and even schedule your stuff beforehand if you would like to, and think about each caption, think about each story, allow people to get to know you, and really understand the message that you're sending behind everything. And even when you're just starting out, like I am, it's like, find your way, because people will only become more and more interested. It's only going to go up from here, right? So I encourage you to start doing some live videos, first of all, but also dig deep and find these storylines, figure out these avatars, figure out what their issues might be, and really start sharing stories in your content a lot more than you're just posting something because it's the right time of day, right? And really the easiest way I've noticed to feel comfortable on camera is to tell a story. So of your 3 storylines that you're trying to tell, you're trying to share, each one of those little legs, little branches off of that, like I said, if it's health and fitness, health and wellness, or fitness or something, and if you're talking about, I don't know, recipes or something, tell a story behind that. What led you to look for that recipe? What led to that be your favorite breakfast? How does it make you feel when you work out afterwards? Or does it feel really good to eat that after you were done working out because it helps refuel you? Like, tell a story with it instead of just like, hey, this is my favorite breakfast. Here's a recipe. Here's a picture of it, right? So tell a story behind it, make it more relatable, and people are going to connect with you so much more than if they would if you just threw a picture up with some text that didn't really make a ton of sense to them. So when you are gonna, well, hopefully you do, go live, or at least post more of your own face, because if you are in more of your pictures, people are going to look at them more. It's just the truth. I mean, everyone loves pictures of like pretty scenery and quotes and pictures of your kids and all that stuff is great. But it's your account they're following. It's your page they're following. And it doesn't have to be a bunch of the same selfie. Don't be ashamed to have like a helping husband take a picture of you doing something, right? Or even a kid for that matter. Or heck, use the timer on your phone, use it and take a picture of your family doing something, homework over the dinner table, and talk about, use that in a story of you're thankful you get to be there with your kids, helping them with their homework after school because, you remembered when you were a kid, maybe your parents weren't there to help you, or maybe you struggled in a certain subject, and it's so gratifying to be able to be there to help your kid thrive in math because that wasn't a thing that you were good at when you were little. Whatever the story is, use a picture of you instead of some graphic or someone else's picture, or a picture of like a picture of homework, right? Like make it a picture of your family, put you in it. So people can hear the story about you, and use that to create a little bit of curiosity, because if they're wondering about you and your upbringing, then if whatever story you're talking about, like I'm still using that, like, oh, if I struggled in math as a kid or whatever, it starts to getting them think about your life and your childhood, right? Now they're wondering what kind of person you are. They're wondering about you in school and you being raised in your family and what are you interested in. So every story you tell makes people think more and more about your life, and they start getting to know you more and all of that. And if you're going to go on Facebook Live, I love always use it. Well, first of all, use a bunch of emojis, not like obnoxious, but emojis do better. They post better. People see them more. They get more visibility on Facebook. But make a caption that is inviting and creates curiosity as well on a Facebook Live video. I'm obviously still working on that as well. But you need to remember that when you write something, step back and say, would I want to click on that? Would I want to stop my scroll and click on that if somebody had posted that caption on a Facebook Live? And don't think it needs to be something super long. I mean, 3 to 5 minutes is just fine. And you can create a live about any one of the topics that we discussed. And there are some kind of tips for creating live video. And basically, you're going to take one of your storylines, right? You're going to take one of your storylines, and you're going to take one of the little legs off of it. Of your storyline. So if you're talking about fitness, you have a little leg off of it, and maybe it's recipe or workout or whatever your thing is. Maybe it's mindset, whatever. Think about a story that you can relate to that leg of your storyline, right? A story from your life. Create just 3 to 5 bullet points to round that story out with, right? So just 3 to 5 things that'll jog your memory about a story in your life when you took some type of journey to realize or learn about whatever you're going to present to your audience. Share that. You don't need to script out your entire live video. It doesn't need to be a book about your life. Just one little story. Call out with a couple bullet points and share those, and note what those are, and just make a quick little video. And then something great that you can do from that is Bob Heilig shared this with us. It's something I didn't know you could do, but there's a website called rev.com, rev.com. You can save your video from Facebook and you can upload it to rev.com, and they will caption your video for $1 a minute. And if it's like a 3-minute video, it's only $3. And they send you a caption file. And if you're going to do this, make sure when you check out, there's an option for a Facebook ready SRT file. It's a caption file, and you can upload it straight to Facebook. You can go to edit video, and it says upload file, and it's from rev.com. You upload your video to the website, and then you click I want my captions, and you just click Facebook ready SRT, and they email you a caption file. That's all the captions, and it will be a file straight in your email that you can upload to Facebook. And videos with captions get played, I think it's something like 60 to 80% more, because people will stop and read the captions when they can't open a video and listen to the audio of it. So they're much more likely to take in your video with the captions on it than they are otherwise without it on there. So that's kind of a good tip. So you have your captions there. So now you've got a storyline, right? You've got your 3 storylines, and you've come off with a little leg of that, right? You've developed a story around that. Maybe 3 to 5 bullet points that you can share in a live video or in a post or whatever. And a little tip: go get the captions on, because people are more likely to take in that video if it has captions, because they can stop and watch the captions and not have to listen to the audio. But also now, whatever you talked about in that video, you can chop that up into a bunch of written posts. So you can make one big long post and just kind of edit the text, so it's more like what I would like to do is put it on my phone and then write out what I would say in my video in more of a text speak, if you will, add emojis and stuff like that, better than I would have said it on like a live video. So you can make it a nice post and maybe chop it up into a few different posts. Even if you've already done the live video, I mean, don't assume every single person is seeing every single piece of content you're putting on the internet, because they're not. They might see one thing a day, maybe. And so you can totally take bits and pieces of things you've already posted and translate them into new material. So say you did this live video that had a few bullet points and it was an offshoot of one of the 3 storylines we talked about earlier. So take those bullet points, expand on them in a couple different posts, chop up that material, and then what did you talk about in your live, or what did you talk about in a previous post that you might be able to allude to later? So using the recommendation that I was doing earlier, so I did a live video about new mom preschool stuff, and I referenced a couple books that I had listened to or liked that I had used when I had my first son. And some people asked me about them later, and they said, oh, what are those books you mentioned for helping infants with sleep or whatever? And I said, oh my gosh, I need to post about this. So I posted again. They said, hey, in my live video, I talked about these couple books. This is what they're about. Here's some other books I recommend, parenting stuff. And then later on, you can pull quotes out of that post. You can pull other stories out of that post. Maybe there's some more stories you can expand on that relate to the same subject that you were talking about earlier. Maybe your live video was just one story on that topic that you decided to pull out of one of your storylines. And what other stories can you tell along those same lines? What items can you recommend? What activities might go along with that? So you're really taking like one leg of a storyline and you can expand it for like an entire week once you realize what your focus is and who you are talking to. And if you have some snippets of like a video script or even just that story that you had written down from your storyline earlier, you can translate that out into a bunch of different posts and a bunch of different photos of you and your family or your hobbies or whatever. You can really extrapolate on that and make that work for you and go the extra mile for you. So you can create, a bunch of your own quote images if you're listening to podcasts, if you're reading books, or if you're doing on certain blogs, or you're doing recipes or fashion advice or whatever it is. You can create all that stuff. You can create a story around it. You can create photographs around it and quotes around it and all that stuff. And it's all stemming from developing your 3 storylines. Who are the avatars that go along with those 3 storylines? What problems do those people have? What issues do those people have? What type of content do you think they want to take in? How can your content be adding value to them? And a tip is, you might find that in creating these avatars, these people are very similar to yourself. So when you are on social media, what content do you like to absorb, right? What content do you like to take in? What do you slow your scroll with? What do you pay more attention to? What videos are you more apt to watch? How can you create things related to that, like that, with your own stories? They don't need to be professional. You don't need to be some professional in any category or have a certain degree or have any sort of certain certificate or distinguishment of any kind. You can be simply learning as you go. And the more you go, the more people are going to start to know, love, and trust you, so that later on they want to buy from you or join your team because they feel like they know you as a person. And so as you're thinking about your storylines and the offshoots of these storylines, and you know that this person is probably similar to you and what you like, it's going to start raising your awareness for the content that is already sitting out in front of you. As you go throughout life, the activities you do, the processes you do, the systems you've created, the family activities you're a part of, the things you say, the things you do, all of that, you're going to realize you'll catch yourself starting to think, oh, does that fit into one of my 3 storylines? Great. I'm going to snap a picture about this and start a new folder on your phone of photos, a new photo album that's to use later. And maybe you can even title it your different storylines. So you're not trying to come up with a photo and a caption on the spot. So when it comes to a time when you should be posting, if you haven't scheduled something out beforehand, you have a bank of photos of different times in your life or different times throughout your day or even times throughout the month when you took photos that you realized were part of your overall storyline that you can go back and access. So you have them saved somewhere that you can go access them and then write a story about that, or then write a caption about it. And heck, you could even create a Word document if you really want to, that has a bunch of photos with a story that you're sitting there thinking about a bunch of stuff. You can pre-write a bunch of captions if you want to. So a lot of this stuff can be done, heck, on a Sunday. You know what I mean? On a Sunday night, you could plan out your entire week with a bunch of stories if you're just snapping pictures throughout your life, and narrow down your 3 storylines, and you narrow down your avatars, and then you've created all these offshoots. So you've got like a paragraph per storyline of just subject matter to go on, to start creating this content. And so you can go throughout your life snapping photos, and hopefully most of them are of you, and taking videos, and most of them hopefully you're in them, and doing live videos whenever you can. And those stories that you're telling, you can pull information out of those to use in other ways as well, and refer back to those live videos, or talk about where you got that from. So this is a fantastic way to start narrowing down. It's a good activity to do. It's a great way to start narrowing down the types of stories you want to tell, and how you want to really be attracting the people that you want to be your prospects. And then remember that this is marketing. So you're going to still be reaching out to people, and you're going to be making connections. You're going to be friending new people and forming relationships with them. Every message to them does not need to be about your business, but forming relationships with these people allows them to make that first point of contact with you and establish you as a friend, or you as a professional business person. And that is planting the first seed. And then this content marketing is so important, because you are trying to get them to trust you. You are trying to get them to know you. You are trying to get them to love you, so that when you do introduce a product or a service you can do for them or whatever, they're more apt to choose you and go with you and believe you, because they've seen you do so many great things and add value to them throughout their life thus far in the last few months and days and weeks. And so anyway, I hope this was helpful for everybody tonight. I loved that training when I heard it, and I thought it was a great practice and a great activity to do. And I definitely recommend everybody go through that storyboard kind of thing. Create your 3 circles and come up with every offshoot you can think of all those storylines and what people might struggle with. And then create your avatar, who that person might be, and what kind of struggles they have, what content they might want to take in, and how you can help create that content for them.